talking about this interfaith dialogue, because what the Islamic community is doing to the churches is urging them to be quiet and not talk about the truth. And as a result, certainly the mainline Protestant church, which fell 100 years ago, is falling into play with this whole immigration situation. But now the evangelical community is coming along as we speak. Michelle, it really troubles me because we watched the mainline Protestants collapse starting 100 years ago up until the present. And now we have the evangelical church thinking they need to be politically correct, tolerant, diverse, etc., and multicultural, all of these things. And so they're doing the exact same thing the mainline Protestants started doing 100 years ago, and it's going to turn around and bite them.
That's right. And it's shocking to think that the mainline churches in the United States today, many of them have willingly turned themselves into the handmaidens to advance Islamic Sharia law, which has announced it wants to extinguish Christianity. Why would anyone do that? Now we're seeing that advancing into evangelical circles through this phony interfaith dialogue. It's fake interfaith dialogue because this is done with a design. The model for interfaith dialogue, interestingly enough, is being housed in Omaha by Susie Buffett, the daughter of billionaire Warren Buffett. She's put tens of millions of dollars into this effort to bring Jews, Christians, and Muslims together to advance a dialogue where the pretext is that we're all going to figure out how to get along with each other, which there would be nothing wrong with that. But we know ultimately what the goal will be to not speak the truth about what Muhammad says, what the Quran says, what the Hadith says, what the facts are in the ground of the effects of Islam, and also what Hijra means and what the intents are of Hijra. All this does is neutralize churches. That's why this is a phony, fake thing, because it has nothing to do with understanding Jesus Christ and who Jesus Christ is and what Christianity has done to build up the nation. It's all about emphasizing all the, quote, great things that there are in Islam. And Christianity is supposed to sit quietly and listen to that while Islam goes ahead and advances its agenda here in the United States. And I just want to add one thing about our last segment. This comes at a huge financial cost in our nation. We're bringing people in who the whole household income, in all likelihood, less than $1,000 a year. And quite literally overnight, we have an unending pipeline of poverty coming into the United States. And overnight, they are making cash and in-kind benefits worth well in excess of $40,000 a year. Right. And it never ends because there is not an ability to be able to go out and purchase all of that for themselves, let alone all the fraud, the abuse, and the corruption that goes along with it. If you look at Somalia, for instance, I was on the CIA fact book today looking at that economy. The economy is based primarily, there's some agriculture, but a lot of it is actually corruption, piracy, kidnapping. So this is what we're bringing into the United States, and the American people never gave approval to this. There's never any vote on this. This is the UN, as Ann Corcoran said, the UN chooses who comes in. There's no vetting done. Even the head of Homeland Security said he was shocked to find out that basically a file is put in a basket for 2 years, then picked up, and without any vetting whatsoever, these people are coming into our country. And from Somalia, maybe it's a guy whose 4 brothers were out hacking people to death with Al-Qaeda or Al-Shabaab, and then they come in here, and a lot of Somalia's economy now is basically remittances, money that we give to people who come in the country, and then that money gets sent back to prop up Somalia and their economy. So a lot of this money is going to third world countries, and we've even had terrorist financing cases in Minnesota where we have Muslim people have come into the United States, and they go door to door collecting money specifically to send it back to Somalia so that it could be used to finance terrorism. Are we like out of our mind or what? Deportation is not a bad concept.
Yeah. In Minnesota, we are slightly out of our mind because it's such a blue state, and the liberals think this is just a nirvana type experience that we have here. I don't want to quite leave the interfaith movement yet. Again, that's a seduction that's going on across all denominations. Play a real quick 2-minute clip here because you brought up the Tri-Faith Initiative in Omaha. Religious unity, Jews, Christians, Muslims, all on one campus. What a nightmare.
Exclusive look at the push for religious unity in Omaha.
A unique vision near 132nd and Pacific, quickly becoming reality.
Sacred buildings for people of 3 faiths, all on one campus. KATV News Watch Evanston Hadley Glucklitz joins us live. Natalie?
Rob, take a look at this most recent drawing, the Tri-Faith Initiative's vision. A Jewish temple, Islamic center, and Episcopal church, all connected by walkways. The walkways lead to a Tri-Faith center meant to encourage education and understanding. These are the makings of a Jewish temple unlike any other anywhere.
When they're looking out, they'll actually be facing the other two faith buildings and the Tri-Faith building.
As workers put the finishing touches on the new Temple Israel, they're laying the ground for its neighbor, a two-story, 20,000 square foot Islamic center.
This is going to be so much more than just a place of prayer, which is a mosque.
Patrick Morgan of Sloggy Architects is designing the state-of-the-art facility, one of 3 architects transforming the old Ironwood golf course into one campus of 3 faiths.
Jewish temple, Episcopal church, and Islamic center.
For the architects, the task is a challenge because the goal behind the Tri-Faith Initiative is big and the plan is unique.
There is no place in the world where all 3 faiths have purposely said, let's build together so that we can educate people.
The buildings will face each other, made with similar materials and lots of light, connected by walkways and a Tri-Faith center for learning.
You will have a sense as you come into the neighborhood that the buildings have something in common.
Bob Freeman chairs the Tri-Faith Initiative board and hopes this place of peace could lay the groundwork for a much more grand plan.
If it does work in Omaha, then we will show that it can be done and it can be replicated.
Michelle Bachman, I guarantee you that the pastor and the rabbi, and again, these are useful idiots, will not tell the truth about Islam going on in the mosque right next door to them.
Oh, without a doubt. And the Christian representative is Episcopal. And I will guarantee you the Islamic mosque faces Mecca.
They won't talk about the 4 wives some of these men in the mosque have. And the fact that...
Or demand that Muslims in the United States follow American law.
Well, and if I had 2 husbands, frankly, I don't have any, but if I had 2, I might be hauled off to jail.
You'd be a bigamist,
and
as
yet,
you should be.
And yet these folks can get away with marrying 2, 3, and 4 times. It's a cultural difference. That's all it'll be called, is a cultural difference.
That's right. And I think that your listeners need to know that there are people in the United States who came in through immigration who are Islamic, who it's one man, he's married to 4 wives, and the taxpayers are paying for an apartment for each of the wives and paying for a car for each of the wives because they might claim they're not married, but they're actually married, and this fraud continues to go on. And I think that I'm sick of it, and I think that this needs to be rooted out. We are bankrupt right now as a country. Yeah. We are bankrupt. Barack Obama doubled the federal debt under his 8 years. He put us in more debt than all the previous presidents combined. I hate to give a bad story, but that's the fact of the matter. We cannot afford to bring in an impoverished third world and then all of a sudden make them into the middle class for the rest of their lives, because what we're doing, quite frankly, is we're taking money away from senior citizens, the Social Security checks. We're putting them at risk. We're putting Medicare at risk. We're putting Medicaid at risk. We're putting our children's futures at risk, because when refugees come in, Jan, they go to the front of the line on getting jobs in the United States. Not our kids, but refugees. All you have to do is go to the Minneapolis airport. The Minneapolis airport is run completely different today. And like you said, this is coming all across the United States. This is strangling Europe. Europe is in a death spiral right now. Like we said earlier, Europe is looking within our lifetimes that Europeans will be the minority. They will be the minority in Europe, and that will happen in the United States if we don't stop this unending pipeline of poverty from the third world that we are paying to come into the United States, and then we're putting them on a lifetime train of welfare.